the weather down there in California? Are you experiencing some of the nonsense they are in Northern California?
Not as much. No, it's not as bad here. We don't have floods. But it's a really beautiful day today. It's not raining today. I think we're expected to have more rain this weekend. But yeah, the Northern California is bad. It's not in a good shape. And then there's an area, the Monterey Peninsula. They're talking about how with the upcoming rains that it's more likely to turn into temporarily, but it'll turn into Monterey Island. So yeah, they're telling people to be prepared.
Oh my God. I mean, our whole life we've heard that California is just going to fall into the ocean anyway. So, I
Right, with an
mean, you know.
earthquake. Yes, yeah, I know. I know.
It's not lost on me that I've moved from very safe from pretty much most natural disasters except for tornadoes in Michigan all the
Uh-huh.
way to the part of the country that will literally fall into the ocean um, um, if the apocalypse comes. So, um,
I'm really
s-
far inland. I'm not worried about it.
no, no, but I have heard that they're calling them cyclones, which are
Hmm.
tornadoes, but and that's not a thing normally in Northern California.
It's not a thing in California because we have the mountains, and the mountains kind of interfere with the wind patterns that could possibly form. So I don't really know how it works. I'm not a weather person, but I just hoping for the best. The problem is because my first thing was like, oh, it's rain, like we don't have to be in drought anymore. But the problem is that it's not getting absorbed. The water doesn't get absorbed properly. Like
Right.
normally we would have the snowpack, which slowly releases water throughout the year, which is what actually helps with our droughts. But that's not happening because the water is just basically just running through. It's not getting absorbed, and so it's just making its way back to the ocean. So it's not. It sucks, and it's not really that beneficial, unfortunately.
No, because California could really use the water.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
so, I mean, but maybe this helps the crops at least.
Yeah, I mean, I know I haven't turned on my sprinklers in like 2 weeks, so
Mm-mm.
there's
No.
that.
Mm-mm. No. Well.
And it's also illegal to gather rainwater here in
Yeah,
California.
I heard that. Like, why? What's the purpose? What's the point?
Because when you gather rainwater, then it doesn't go into the I think they're called like underground rivers and stuff, which are owned by the water companies, which are, then they get to charge you for it and stuff. So basically it all leads back to capitalism. So because if you take the water, then they don't have the water to sell. So that's why.
Yeah, watch me put a rain barrel out in my backyard and fuck you, water company. Don't tell me what to do. What the
Exactly.
fuck? Don't tell me what to do. Because I'll do the opposite on purpose.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Um. All right. What else? Anything else good coming up?
Um I have a lot of stuff just coming up this year. I'm just really excited for all the things that are popping up. Like me personally, so we just got our bus. We got our VW
You
bus.
did. You got the bus. Yay.
Yes. It needs a lot of interior cosmetic work.
Yeah.
So all the exterior part is done, the engine's in good shape and all that, but yeah, it's all interior cosmetic thing. So I am gonna be adding that content onto the Franco Abode page.
Franco abode. Girl, where are you gonna put that bus? That bus in your.
It's in the garage now.
Is it really? The whole thing fits in the garage?
It's not as big as you think it is. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's actually slightly shorter than my Forester. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm excited to see it because I visualize like a legit like bus, like a
Yeah, and it is. It's
cata
a yeah.
or a not a cata, but yeah, that's a Michigan thing. Okay, that's exciting. So, good thing you've been on pause
Mhm.
with the Franco abode. Now you can start with the Franco
Bus, I don't know.
mobile abode, mobode or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we have some ideas and stuff. And it's cool because it's such a simple car
Mhm.
and the parts are readily available for it.
Nice.
So it's easy to buy stuff, to repair, to replace. Yeah, so I got some cool projects coming up, so that's fun.
That's really, really cool. And you're gonna design the interior and all that stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. You guys, if you don't follow the Franco Boat on Instagram, you'll definitely want to do it. And it's not the Franco Boat, it's just Franco Boat, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It was fun looking at all her videos and seeing seeing the finish. And I got to actually see it in person over New Year. And so it really was, it's a beautiful space. You have exquisite mid-century taste.
Thank you.
It's a very, very, very beautiful home. You went to school for interior design, though, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah. Well, she's if you ever are looking to hire an interior designer, fucking do it, right? Because seriously, her shit is on point. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so I've got that, and then I'm starting my in-person sessions, my in-person healing sessions this year.
Excellent, excellent. Have you? Did you get good response from those?
So I haven't posted them yet, actually. I've just been I have people that have contacted me privately, and
Yeah,
that's where I'm starting first. And then yeah, I'll have the things up on the website just for anyone that's interested to having more information on that. But yeah, those are going to be local here, where I live in Riverside, California. And the healing sessions involve Reiki and Olympia session, and
yeah.
then just obviously just a talk as well. So for whatever you may be going through or experiencing, whether you need guidance and all that. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm doing. I'm also going to offer remote sessions. The remote sessions though were more designed for someone that has like a burning question, something that they feel very stuck in or blocked by, to kind of help with guidance out of that. And that's just because I can't offer, the in-person sessions to everyone, and we have so many people all around the country and around the world. So yeah, I'm excited.
Um, do you offer distance sessions for your energy work or Lympia?
For the Reiki, yes, but the Olympia sessions have to be done in person. I can offer like how to do it yourself.
Yeah. I when I got back here, I was like, why the fuck didn't I have her do Olympia on me? I seriously needed it. But since I've been back, whoa, shit's up leveled in my head. So maybe it
Awesome.
wasn't the time, but
Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like there's just something really special that happens when we get together, and just kind of like things really elevate, I think, I know for me within myself, like it helps to have that support. And I think that to have that community, even if it's just you and I in that moment, like that it's completely just invaluable.
yeah, it's exciting. I'm
Yes.
excited for you. I'm excited to see where this takes
Yeah.
you.
All right, you ready to make our announcement?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Do
Okay.
tell everybody.
Yes, so we have scheduled our retreat for 2023. This will be our first
Yay.
retreat taking place in Michigan. The city is Newaygo, Michigan.
Newaygo, yep,
Yes,
on the
and
Newaygo River.
and it's taking place on Friday, June 23rd through Sunday, June 25th.
Yes. Newaygo's a little bit north of Grand Rapids, so if you want to attend this and you're coming from out of town, check into flights into the Grand Rapids airport. That will be easy.
Mhm.
But I can tell you right now, there's not going to be any direct flights unless you're coming from like Detroit or something, which why
Okay.
fly? So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll have all the information, pricing, details, all that stuff up on our website shortly.
yes, isn't that exciting, guys? Okay, um, I am super excited for it.
Yeah, yeah. So, what about you? What have you got brewing for this year?
Well, I want to talk about the planet of action, Mars. Its backward bullshit is ending today, which is super exciting. So people should start to feel a little movement around like desire, forward movement, motivation, inspiration, all that stuff. I have felt a little bit unmotivated, I would say, maybe a
Hmm.
little bit apathetic. Not too
Yes.
bad, but yeah. But so that should start, you know clearing up a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
People have been super dissatisfied with this phase because it feels like nothing's happening. But I also hope that you used it to take a fucking rest from the burnout you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Even though you might have realized you're on the burnout path. I know I was, which is one of the reasons I'm like, dude, I gotta get away. I gotta go to California for, the weekend and it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so don't forget though, we still have Mercury in retrograde until January 18th. But when that moves direct, things should really start to move for you. You'll start to feel that flow. And again, remember, there's a shadow phase we need to wade through, but by mid-February, choices and opportunities will give you a more clear path forward. And then I also want to remind everybody that the first 3 months of our personal year, right? So we're 12 days into our personal year. Everybody has a different personal year, but those first 3 months provide us the experiences and circumstances for our primary lessons and growth for the year. So these first 3 months, it's when you're going to experience like choices that need to be made
Mhm.
that are going to lead you to the next three phases of this year. So if you want a refresher on that, you can go to my website, joefigueras.com. I forgot for a minute. And then there's a tab called Tools for the Modern Mystic. And then the personal year, there's a couple posts on personal year in there, and it should clear everything up. So, but yeah, hey, forward motion. I know I feel it, a little bit of energy.
Yes, I do too. I no, I think when we talked before New Year's Eve, I was very like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm not doing anything, and I feel like I don't feel like doing anything. You asked me what what are you enjoying right now, and I'm like watching novelas and eating chocolate.
Which was literally the best answer ever. I'm like, dude, I like that too.
Oh my god, that's like all I wanted to do is just like I don't know.
Okay, and by the way, that chocolate that you had over on the side of your refrigerator in
Yes,
those boxes, just these boxes of bougie chocolate just hanging out. And I was like, what the fuck are these, right? So, my ass got into them.
yes.
And they were cookies covered with caramel and chocolate. And I was like, why are these still here? Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna help take care of that. And I bet you put back six of those damn things.
Yeah, we had that, and then we had 2 boxes of See's candies, and so, yeah, it was not the best time for my sugar level.
That candy was fire though. Oh my god, it was delicious. I was seriously like,
Oh.
why is this here? What are these people? What's wrong with these people? Because I would have killed
Yeah,
it,
the
which is
kids
why I
don't
don't have it in
like
the
those
house.
cookies as much as you would think that they would, but they don't.
Which is gross because, well, I won't say it's gross, but it's weird because um, middle, your middle child, I won't say their
Yes.
name, but
Yeah.
middle was throwing back those what are those called?
The See's Oh, wait, which
The
ones?
the, the French cookies. What are those called? The French
Oh, the Palmiers, I think, or
N-
the butter
n-
cookies. There were some butter
no, the
cookies.
ones that were different colors and the pumpkin spice and the
Oh,
pistachio,
the
the
macaroons.
macaroons, and I think those are just air and sugar. I'm like,
They really
those aren't
are.
my favorite. They
It's
were okay, but they were just sugar.
it's almond paste. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
almond paste and sugar. And
yeah.
yeah.
All
No.
right, well, whatever. Um, yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, if we're I'm happy to be out of the novellas and chocolate phase that I went through there for a minute. um Speaking of novellas, have you watched White Lotus?
No, I tried, and I love Jennifer Coolidge. She's my absolute favorite, but I have too many other shits, and they were mean. They were rude, mean, entitled, mean people. I couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I couldn't.
We got through like a first, I don't know how many episodes. We got through like a pretty decent amount of episodes until finally I'm like, I don't want to watch a show about entitled people and their problems. Like, oh,
Awful, awful humans.
I don't care. I don't
Mm-mm.
care. And even the girls who are like, they're represented as like, I don't know, a Gen Z and woke and stuff. Even they got on my nerves like probably just as much as anyone. And I was like, I can't. There's I don't there's not a single character on that show that I liked.
No.
And so then it just made it like I'm not rooting for anyone.
Mm-mm.
Okay, with the exception of the spa manager lady.
Oh,
She
yeah, she was a black lady, right?
Yes, she's the
Yeah,
only one that I was like, I'm cheering for her, but I'm also like, and I'm not, there's no spoilers here because I haven't watched the ending, but like, I feel like there's this feeling of impending disappointment that's coming her way, and I just can't. I
you
just
can't.
can't. I can't with that. I'm just like, no,
Mm-mm.
someone's gonna let her down, and
Yes.
that shit's gonna fire me up, and I don't want to see it. So
No. Yep. I'm the same way too. I'm the same way. I'm like, no. Whenever there's any injustice, especially against people of color, I can't do it. And also, I can't watch it if the dog dies. If the dog dies, fuck off. I'm not. I'm not watching it.
yeah,
Okay. But can we listen? I need to. We need to talk about something on air because
yes.
this is literally my favorite thing in the entire world right now. Your husband and your daughter
Oh no,
fucking being the number one fans of Bad
Bad
Girls,
Girls Club.
the Bad Girls Club. You guys,
Oh my god.
we watched that thing like 7, 8, 9 episodes in a row, and I hate that kind of shit. But I tell you what, it sucked me in because I was like, all right, what's going to happen now? Which shit show is going to create a shit show within the shit show house? In this specific episode, and they never let us down. It was a house full of shit shows, and her husband and her daughter love that shit.
They
And
really did. They really do. And they're ridiculous. I can't. Cause especially like they're watching this other season, and there's this one point where like these like four girls gang up on one. They're just like, and I'm just like, how can you watch this? And I had a problem. I have a problem. Well, one, watching that stuff on TV is one thing, but like when I was in high school, I remember I would see people fight, and especially like when girls would get into fights with each other, and there'd be this circle of people, formed around them watching them fight, and I'm just like, how come no one is stopping this? Like, why are we just standing here watching? I couldn't. I would always walk away because I'm like, this feels so weird. It feels
Mhm.
so, I don't know, like primitive. Like we look
Yes.
like a bunch of monkeys standing around watching this drama, and like
Throwing
for
shit
some,
at each other.
yeah, I can't. But I don't
It's
know.
mean. It's
It's
mean. And
mean.
I think it's probably the empath thing too. Like I can't watch
Yeah.
boxing. I can't watch kickboxing or MMA because I'm like, no, don't. Why do you have to hit each other?
No,
But
stop it.
literally, I mean, and then the best part of the fact that your husband he was the one that turned it on, that got all
Yeah.
settled on the couch, and he's like, "Come on, let's come watch this." And we're all like, "What is happening
I
here?"
know.
It
Yeah.
was it was awesome. It was yeah. It was so even to the point of where I'm like, I wonder if I can like find out what's happened since I left off. And then I'm like, no, I'm not getting involved with those assholes because I don't know what's the black girl's name, the one who's always starting the shit.
I don't know
She's
their
the
names. The
bully. Okay,
only
so
one's name that I knew from that one season, and this
it
was like
was
the
Judy.
Judy. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
only name I know.
Yep. So the black girl that hates Judy, like
Yes.
I want to watch it because I want to see her get her just desserts, not because
Yes.
Judy doesn't deserve it, because Judy deserves it, but because it's like you can't just bully and manipulate people like that and not have some sort of consequences,
Yeah,
which
some
apparently you
repercussions.
can, right?
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yep.
I want to see.
So
Anyway.
I had an interesting conversation a couple of nights ago with Mike about the show, kind of adjacent. So we were talking about it, and I was like, why do you even like watching that? He's like, sometimes it gives me like a little bit of flashbacks because because he dated someone who was like that.
Ugh.
Like she would have been on the show, and he was, I don't know, I don't remember how old he was. He must have been maybe like 25 or just younger than that. So um he didn't know what he was getting into, obviously, in the beginning of the relationships, but it quickly would escalate into like where they were getting kicked out of clubs. She would instigate fights, and then he'd have to get involved. And there was one where she was just running her mouth, and the girl's boyfriend, who she was running her mouth to, was an MMA fighter.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, and then and so he's like, dude, like, really, I'm gonna have to fight this guy? Like, what is this? And he was just really like evaluated his life at
Fuck that. I'm
after.
out.
yeah, after some point, like, I can't keep doing this.
Mm-mm.
But it's just funny that's how he kind of sees it. It's kind of like, oh, this is the bullet I dodged.
Right.
Ending that
And
relationship.
if your mouth is getting you in trouble and it's consistent, right? One time I can see, right? Especially with
Sure.
alcohol. But if your
Sure.
mouth is consistently getting you in trouble, just because I'm your significant other doesn't mean that I'm going to jump in every single time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's a bigger question of why am I with this person who's constantly
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
chaos.
She specifically it continues to be a narcissist, and so everything is always about her and taking personal offense. Everyone's always like, it's always an attack to her. It's everything's personal, um, and I don't know if narcissists are born or narcissists are made. I don't really know the psychology behind that, but I know that she carried and continues to carry a lot of pain within herself from things that she experienced as a young child, like her mom just leaving, running off, and basically abandoning the family, and leaving a husband who wasn't really equipped to be both parents, and all that. And then I'm sure there's more to all of that, and obviously a lot more conflict. But I think really what it came down to for her is that she's only ever known like a life with conflict, and when
Right.
that's what you know, that's what you seek,
That's
and
what
when
you
you can't
create.
and when you can't find it, you create it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the reasons are obvious and sad and all of that stuff, but yeah, it is a bit of a train wreck to watch people like that and be like, "Oh,
Hmm.
it's not going to turn out good for you."
No,
And it never does. So, yeah, so
it never does.
well, at
What's
any rate, it's a funny
Yeah.
show. I mean, it's
What's interesting about those
entertaining.
those the girls on the Bad Girls Club that my daughter pointed out to me is that a lot of these girls now, because it's been like 10 plus years for most of those shows or most of those seasons, a lot of them have ended up turning into either some kind of like healer or like some kind of spirituality notion.
Shut up. I
Yes.
love that, right?
or
Heal
or
your shit.
exactly, or they have a podcast, and I was like,
Or
hey, where
mhm.
was I supposed to be on the Bad Girls Club?
On the Bad Girls. Right,
No.
well, maybe their shit, they got put on blast and they watched it and they were like, "Oh, maybe
Right.
I'm the problem." And,
Yes.
so and sometimes we get hit with that, right? We see that
Yeah.
through whatever. We go back through old texts and we're like, "Maybe I overreacted just a tad here or whatever."
Yeah.
But we don't have our shadow, our trauma, our wounding on blast like that for the
Yes.
entire world to judge. So it does, I would never join a reality show.
Right.
There's no way in hell I would. But, and I'm
Yeah.
pushing it having the podcast, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, I have opinions
Yes.
on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, but it does kind of track. It does kind of track, especially because it's clear that, like you said, these women are putting out their shadow aspects out there. That's
right.
exactly what's on display. And so
Yep.
then if you do go back and watch yourself, yeah, it does give you that perspective that maybe you wouldn't have had any other way. You wouldn't have been able to see any other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Related to that, I've been seeing a lot of hawks lately. Just a ton of hawks. I don't know if it's like a seasonal thing because it's January or winter, or I don't know why, but I've seen just uh, every day. Every day I see at least one. And so I looked it up. I looked up like what is hawk medicine. And hawk medicine is about seeing things and seeing your life, seeing yourself from a different perspective, from a higher perspective, and really looking at life with a broader lens. And so I thought that was cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very important lesson because yeah, I think it's what's the saying, like it's hard to see the forest when you're standing
The
in the
forest
trees, or
before the trees.
something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. um
Well, and earlier, didn't you mention that a lot of people are coming to you or talking with you and they're going through a spiritual awakening?
Yeah, so we just started 2023. The numerology year for 2023 is we're in a numerological year 7.
Yeah, Universal
And
7.
and 7 is the number of the spiritual seeker, correct? Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. And so a lot of people this year will be going through their spiritual awakening if they haven't already begun. And then for those who are already on that path, uh, it's going to things are going to heighten in a way that's going to propel you into where you're meant to go, into what you're meant to do. So strap in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And remember, the first 3 months are going to show you the choices and opportunities and potential paths and all that stuff. And the other thing is that if you are that person who's like, I don't know what my purpose is, and you feel frustrated by that, don't
Mhm,
worry about that, because uh, oftentimes our purpose is found in the doing of the day to day. So
mhm.
I would just say, instead of trying to find your purpose this year, focus on your interests, that things that light you up. That's my key word for this year: transformation and feeling lit up. And those are the two things that are going to propel me forward. So if you see this class on, human design, take it. See if it's something that you're interested in. If not, fucking bounce. The other
Yes.
thing to remember about 7 is the 7, if you have a 7 in your core chart, sevens are not meant to finish things. Sevens are the seekers of deeper meaning. So you can get halfway into a project and be like, I'm done. I have everything I need.
Mm,
Fucking pivot. Go on to the next thing. People get so like, oh, I should be able to finish. Society tells us you have to have follow through and you have to finish things. You have to finish
mhm,
what you start, right?
mhm.
No, not if you're a 7 or you have a 7 and not in a 7 year. It's all about exploring every single thing that lights you the fuck up, seeing where it goes, because that one thing could be the thing that pushes you down a path that actually leads you to your purpose. So
Yes.
it's a cool year. I love 7 years. I'm super excited to see what happens this year.
Yeah, I pulled 3 cards for the year, because I just got the Light Seers Tarot.
You did. That's my
It
favorite tarot deck.
I love it.
Isn't it awesome?
It's just it speaks to me, like, unlike a lot of other
Yeah.
decks.
There's something about it. Chris Ann, the creator of that deck, she's goddamn magic.
Yeah, so I pulled the Sun, the King of Swords, the Emperor, and then the card on the bottom of the deck was Death and Rebirth.
Nice. See?
Yeah.
Nice. I love
Yeah,
that.
so the sun speaks to us about all the opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's shining the light on everything that the world has to offer. It's what brings us joy, it's what brings us life, what provides us with that spark. And so then we move into the King of Swords, and that's about intelligence and the importance of having clarity before you take your next steps, but knowing that you don't have to have all your questions answered. It's just
Mm-mm.
about being grounded
Mm-hmm.
in what you know
Yeah.
and your own personal experiences.
And what lights you up? Yeah.
Yes, and what lights you up. And then the emperor, that's your natural leadership, taking action. So for those who haven't maybe begun or done a lot of research on your spiritual awakening is essentially leading you into your purpose, which, because we're humans and because we're here on earth, whether you like it or not, has to deal with others,
Mm-hmm.
with other, sometimes other humans, sometimes animals, because they're living beings as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, but I hate working with people, then maybe it's animals.
Then work with animals because they're
Yes,
just lovely.
they really are.
Mm.
But the point of the emperor again is that you harboring the belief of infinite possibilities for success, and knowing that a lot of times that's going to lie within that service to others, and knowing that you don't have to have complete clarity over the future, because
Mm-mm.
that's a pretty impossible.
And nobody has it. Nobody
No.
has it. I mean, I'm pretty spot on with following my gut nudges, but I have no
Yes.
fucking idea what's going to happen. But I'm going to find out.
Yes. Yeah. And then that's death and rebirth. It's understanding that cycle. And that's that cycle of putting things in our past to rest, allowing them to be a part of our past that we don't necessarily have to revisit if we don't want to, and rebirth into our new selves, into our
Hmm.
best selves, into the possibility of our potential.
Yep. Yep. What are those cards again?
The Sun, the King of Swords, the Emperor. So it's going to be a exciting year. I'm excited to see people up level, and the sharing of information. And I think sometimes we might get caught up in, what does service to others look like? I only have so much time in the day. I'm already doing so many things. It doesn't have to be huge. Even if it's something where you're reading a book and there's some passage in that you feel like, wow, this that really impacted me, or that feels very meaningful. I want to share this with someone else.
Hmm. Mm-mm.
Something as simple
Hmm.
as that, because you don't
Hmm.
know why you have that inkling that
Hmm.
this message might need to be shared.
That's
And just
right.
doing that.
Yeah, getting the urge to be like, I don't know why I'm supposed to share this with you, but I am, or I don't know why I feel
Yes,
called to share
yes.
this.
And
Um,
if you don't feel comfortable sharing that, maybe like on your personal pages, your Facebook or whatever, because I don't know, maybe you have people who don't understand maybe what you're going through yet.
right.
Remember that that's why we have our esoterics community on Facebook, is because that is a safe place for you to go and share something like that. That's like, we love that, we support that. If
100%.
you're going in there to share a message of something that stood out to you today, feel free to go
Yeah.
and post that in the group.
Drop it in there. And remember, right now the algorithms are sort of fucking with everything. So anytime you see any of our content, if you want to continue to see it in your feed without having to go to the page specifically, you're going to have to comment, like, you're going to have to do something more than just like it, because that's how the algorithm knows what you want to see and will continue to show it to you. If you just keep
Yes.
scrolling by or you like it, it's going to eventually phase out of your feed. So
Yeah.
FYI, that's how the algorithms work.
You can also prioritize posts too. You can, there's like the little button on the top right of most posts, and it'll say like, see more like this, or make sure
Yeah.
you're following and stuff, or
Yeah.
be notified when this page posts. You can do things like that to tweak what you're seeing as well.
Yes. So listen, speaking of tools for this 7 year,
Hmm.
I want to remind everybody that I have an info and freebies page on my website called Tools for the Modern Mystic. And it's sort of my pet project, I guess you would say, this year, to start sharing all of the cool fucking shit I come across in my year 7, or universal year 7,
Yes.
on that page. So just bookmark it. If you subscribe to it, you'll get an email notification saying, hey, Joe's just updated Tools for the Modern Mystic. I just updated it with like some more personal year stuff, so that, you really have an idea of what's going on. Um,
It's perfect.
yeah. And then I'm learning my 7 year. I'm going to spend my 7 year learning astrology and human design, just getting deeper into it, and adding these two modalities to complement numerology and the Akashic records. It's really changed my readings in amazing ways. They're fun for me again, and they've always been fun.
Yeah.
I love helping people, but these it's like connecting the dots for people is like, oh my God, it's so cool. And yeah, I get excited about them.
I would like to do an episode on human design on here on the podcast, but I would like us to maybe work on doing a astrology live, or something that involves video, because I think it's important to use graphics. Because like Joe and I sat down and we were doing research on degrees, and we came up with, like, we found some really cool information that is, I think, is really cool to share. I've been diving more into aspects and just kind of understanding what aspects are, what they mean, how to read them, how to utilize them, how to best work with them. So, but that's something that would have to do, like, we need a visual aid to
Yes.
really show that.
Yeah. And we're interested in different things. So she's been diving into those
Yes.
aspects, right? And I've been diving into the nodes and past life and future life and midheaven, career, the stage, your black moon Lilith, like your divine empowerment, your Chiron, your
Yeah.
wounding, all of that, and how that applies to your numerology and your astrology. Human design has been amazing. It really has. But the more that I'm into it, the more I realize I'm not interested in being a human design reader. Maybe that will come at some point, but right now,
Yeah.
it's really just validation for the beauty of the numerology and the astrology. That's
Yeah.
really what it is.
Yeah, I've been also looking into astrocartography because
Yes, isn't
I
that
just
fun?
yeah, I just think it's fun and it's interesting. I'm not interested in ever becoming an astrocartography reader, but I am interested in sharing that information with people as just as I go along, as I learn it for myself, because there's certain things that are just kind of practical. We don't have to get super deep into it and all that to be able to benefit from the understanding.
Mm-mm. Well, and what's cool too is when people, I'll get people and they're like, I'm thinking about a move or whatever. And I'm like, well, let's look at your astrocartography to
Yes.
see. And 9 times out of 10, wherever they're thinking of moving shows up in their fucking chart. Now, you
Yeah.
can't make that stuff up. You
Yep.
can't. That's not woo woo nonsense. It's science, bitch. Okay, so listen, speaking of readings, I rolled out new readings in 2023. So I
Mm,
want to talk a little bit more in depth about a different reading each episode, just
okay.
one.
Okay.
So this week I want to talk about the higher self, Akashic reading, and connection. And I think the reason that I think that this reading is so important is because of this 7 year. This is the reading that is going to teach you. This is it's a hybrid reading slash coaching mentoring session. So basically, what we're going to do, because our higher self is the source of our intuition, it's our inspiration, it's our strongest connection to source. Learning to connect and communicate with your higher self is literally crucial for, your quest for deeper meaning in your 7 year and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So, the first 30 minutes of this reading coaching hybrid session, we're going to connect to your higher self for answers to your biggest questions. So, bring questions. What are you here to do? Your biggest challenges, how to reach your greatest potential, any other questions that you might have. 3 to 5 specific questions can be covered in like 30 minutes.
Okay.
This is a 90-minute reading, by the way. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to cover things like the purpose of your intuition, how to develop a connection practice using the Akashic records. Yes, I will teach you how to open the Akashic records for yourself to develop your practices, how to identify your 3 most intentional connection symbols. This is something that's really cool, really fun, and it helps you go, there's my message,
Mm,
because you have these symbols that will show up.
yeah.
Just all of those sorts of things, what to do if it all feels challenging, and any other topics that sort of fall into place. And then in the final 30 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to communicate with your higher self using a simple technique. Very simple technique, and it's you asking questions and getting answers.
Uh,
So, again, 90 minutes. This reading also includes a PDF handout. So I recommend, if you're able, book this reading. Book this reading. It really, really is going to help you.
what's the cost of that one?
That cost is, I believe, it's like 225.
That's a deal because you know how much people charge just to teach you how to open the Akashic records? Like,
It yeah. I mean, it's stupid. Listen, I had to increase my prices this year, and I was struggling with it because I'm like, but these prices really do benefit people and fit people.
no.
And then I was doing my research, and it's like people are. It's like the grocery stores, and I'll bitch about the grocery stores, right? Because my IMs went doubled.
Sure.
But yeah, there is a need.
Yeah.
But there's still. I tried to make this one really
Yeah.
affordable and accessible. And as always, I don't promote this because I'm not trying to get slammed in my DMs. But if you truly feel in your heart of hearts that you need this reading, you need this mentoring, this information, and you legitimately cannot afford it, and I'm not talking about priorities, because if you're going to go to a concert or get a new coach or some new pair of boots or something, and you're just not prioritizing intuitive development or a reading, then that's not on me. But if you legitimately feel as if you would like to put it out to the universe, I will work with you on pricing, and I will work with you on a payment plan or something in order to help you get
Yeah.
this reading.
All right, Joe. What are we talking about today?
Today, um, in my quest for number one, sharing what I've come across in 2023, in my year seven, in my deep dive into astrology, I want to talk about Elsie Wheeler and the Sabian symbols. Okay. I had never heard of the Sabian symbols until I started this astrology mentorship.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not going to get into deep of what yeah, I'm not going to get deep into what they are, because there is a website that you can go to that will teach you everything in a much um, more clear and organized and logical way.
Mhm.
And it is called Linda Hill. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Linda Hill is the teacher, but the website is sabiansymbols.com,
Mhm.
SABIANSYMBOLS.com. Go there.
Okay.
It really will clear everything up. I'm just going to briefly touch on the Sabian symbols, but I really want to talk about Elsie Wheeler.
Okay.
She is a badass psychic, and I really want you guys to hear her story.
Awesome.
All right, so Elsie Wheeler and the Sabian symbols. The Sabian symbols were created in 1925 by Mark Edmund Jones. So he's the one who came up with the concept for these things.
Okay.
Um, but they were clairvoyantly channeled. The meanings of the symbols were, and the symbols themselves were clairvoyantly channeled by Elsie Wheeler. So the Sabian symbols just offer a different approach to the understanding and teaching of astrology. So once you do your research and you figure it out, it's kind of cool.
Mhm.
Each of the 12 zodiac in our birth chart contains 30 degrees each.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All the way from Aries 1 to Pisces 30. So Sabian symbols are images and phrases attached to each of those symbols. Those were what were clairvoyantly channeled by Elsie Wheeler
Mhm.
that give us a deeper understanding of each one of those 360 degrees. So, for instance, I think I was born at like Capricorn 17 degrees. So,
Uh-huh.
when I go in and I look at what the Sabian symbol means, it really does resonate with me at a deeper level. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Right.
Oh, okay.
So it's really cool, but it's something that can be absorbed um, by going down that rabbit hole, right? Because
Mhm.
I want to share, but I'm also encouraging people to do the research.
Yes.
Um, the other thing is the Sabian symbols can be used in every aspect of astrology and applied to any point in the zodiac to reveal these beautiful layers of meaning to the degree of any of the planets, asteroids, and angles. So when we were in the car driving back from San Diego, and we were, going over the degrees and stuff in each
Yes.
sign, then once we look at that, we look at the degree specific to that, or do we look at the Sabian symbols specific to that degree? That would have given us even more knowledge. So
Oh,
they're a
okay.
super cool
Okay.
tool. They can also be used as an oracle. How? I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting there going, well, how would I use it as an oracle? Maybe just picking a degree, or I have no idea. But a lot of people, when I read some of the research, said that when used as an oracle, they were eerily on point. So it's kind of cool. You can use anything as
Mm.
an oracle. You can use the page in a book as an oracle, really.
Yes, yeah, you can. Yeah. Well, I think you and I did that when I did the intuitive development with you.
Yes.
Remember
Yeah,
we
we
used
did.
that.
That was fun. That's actually
Yeah.
really fun. All right. So now that we know just a little bit more about the Sabian symbols, let's talk about where they came from, because this is where the magic is. Elsie May Wheeler. She was born September 3rd, 1887 at 9:39 p.m. in City, Illinois. And I gave all that in case anybody wanted to pull her chart and take a look at her. Any of you astro badasses out there. Not a great deal is known about her life, but the legacy that she left behind lives on through those Sabian symbols. So she was severely afflicted with rheumatoid arthritis, and she spent her entire life in a wheelchair. Her entire life in a wheelchair.
Wow.
She couldn't really turn her head, and she could barely hold her hands.
Hmm.
Elsie never married or had kids. Um, she was married to sort of this higher spiritual purpose, is what everybody else likes to say. But don't let that stop you, because as we'll find out, Elsie had a little something going on with somebody. Her intuitive and visionary abilities, they were not impaired by her handicap at all. She was an extraordinary clairvoyant, very powerful, and she was said to be blessed with the ability to see images quickly and clearly. And that's another reason why I'm drawn to her, because I tell people when I teach, when I mentor intuitively, when we talk about clairvoyance, you're not going to see it like a movie. You're not going to see it as clear as a bell. It's going to feel like a memory, you know. So, but
Yeah.
apparently Elsie, she was on point. Her clairvoyance was badass. All right, so she was left an orphan after her mother Louisa died in 1891, and then her father Willis died in 1894. So, like 3 years apart. She was then sent to live at the Bethesda Hospital and Home for the Incurables in St. Louis, Missouri, where she stayed there for 20 years. Okay.
Wow.
So, 20 years she grew up in that hospital. There isn't a lot about what went on in that hospital.
Uh-huh.
The real magic happens when she moved to San Diego, California in
Ah.
1923 at the age of 36. Now, she went to live with this man listed as in the census as being her uncle, quotes, uncle,
Uh-huh.
Frank W. Baxter. And Frank was a barber. Okay. And yeah, once she hit San Diego, she became famous as a spiritualist medium, and she was also an ordained minister, which is, I think, is kind of cool.
Oh.
She regularly advertised that she was seeing clients at her home. And so people were coming all over to seek her advice, and just her perpetual smile. Everybody talks about how she just had this beautiful energy.
Yeah.
So Elsie hung out at the San Diego Indoor Sports Club in her wheelchair. She was spreading sunshine and encouraging others, don't give up, there's lots to live for type of attitude.
Mhm. Mhm.
So very much a lovely energy. And actually, the San Diego Indoor Sports Club is still in operation today in the Mission Hills district
Okay. Okay.
in San Diego.
That's not far from
Um,
where we were.
yeah, no, I was trying to remember what the name of it was to ask if we could drive by it, but I
Oh.
couldn't remember. So I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so the Sabian symbols they were birthed in San Diego again in 1925 by Mark Edmund Jones. So who is he? He was an American astrologer and spiritualist who enlisted the help of Elsie because he was interested in finding a set of words and images to go with every single degree of the zodiac. How he got
Okay.
inspired to do that, I don't know, but he actually did. Mark Edward Jones taught Carl Jung astrology. So I mean, he was,
Oh.
he was, sort of famous in his own right within the world of astrology.
I
But in
love that crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know there's astrologers that have said this. It might be, I don't think it's Linda Goodman, but anyway, that if psychologists used somebody's birth chart to help them through, their therapy, it would open up so much more information. Like, it does open up so much more information, and yeah, and you'd be able to help somebody so much more by
Mhm.
just knowing their birth chart. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I liken it to stupid Mark Meadows trying to become the speaker of the house 15 times. I'm like, dude, it's a full moon, bro. You need to just stop right now. Right? He should
Exactly.
have used astrology.
You guys need an astrologer.
You need an astrologer. Um Well, and then of course Young, who, of course, he actually went on to study astrology, at deeper levels, but he was mostly known for the Akashic records and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, he's always quoted for a lot of psychology, Jungian
Mm-hmm.
psychology and
Yep.
and shadow, and he's
Mm-hmm.
he's credited with all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a cool dude. Hopefully. Let's see. So Jones actually chose Wheeler as his partner in the experiment because of her remarkable ability to see messages, images, and symbols. Very, very, very clairvoyant. Um, She used this talent to help her clients, but she was getting tired of the standard questions. You know what they are. When will I be rich? And when will I meet the love of my life? Girl, people get on and I'm like, okay, you guys, you have 20 minutes. You can ask me whatever you want. And then they're like, when will I find my love? I'm like, ugh. Well, let's look at the records, see what the records say. Anyway, so Wheeler was very eager to take part because she believed that this was an opportunity to really contribute something to astrology. She was a fan. All right, so how they did it. One sunny day, Mark picked Elsie up on his way to Balboa Park and chose this beautifully wooded spot where they would be surrounded by the vibrations of life, but that they wouldn't be deserved or
Mm-hmm.
disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote in his book, quote, Elsie Wheeler was very anxious to start. It was necessary to provide uninterrupted hours with a problem of inevitable fatigue to be taken into account. She had to be carried, no others could be present, and conditions in general had to enable her to function in her accustomed manner. Balboa Park in San Diego offered a spot where there was a screen of trees and bushes, and during the day, no one would show any interest in a car parked here for a few hours, unquote.
Oh.
So, he's like, all right, well, it has to be someplace conducive to this. So what he did was he had a set of 363 by 5 cards that he had prepared, and these were blank except for a small notation of the sign and number on one side, i.e. Aries 1, Aries 2, and so on. Mark would shuffle the cards and place one in front of Elsie, neither of them knowing the sign or the number on the other side, right? Mark wrote about this. He said one card was put face down before the medium, and she reported on the picture she saw by inward vision. This was noted hurriedly. I don't know how you say that.
Hurriedly.
They did it fucking quick in pencil on the card itself. Sometimes the way these people in the 20s and 30s and 40s talked, it's like, dude,
Because
say what you
they
mean.
talk like this, and they're
Yeah,
all
like,
like, that transatlantic accent and stuff. I can't do
right?
it. I
Yes.
can't.
I'm bougie and old and shit. So during the whole process, Mark kept shuffling the cards, and the Sabian oracle clairvoyantly came through Elsie's psychically attuned mind completely at random.
Huh.
They did 90 symbols, and then they took a break, and then they did another 90, and then they had they had lunch, and then they had a drive, and then they did another 90, and then finished the last 90 at the end of the day. So they did 360 cards in one fucking day.
Holy
I
shit.
can't even imagine.
Oh my God.
I know, right? I pull 3 and I'm like, I'm tired.
No wonder she was exhausted.
I know, right? So that the entire set of Sabian symbols was visualized and recorded in a day is truly extraordinary. Because if the process of visualizing and recording the symbols took 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon, on average, 45 symbols would have to have been visualized per hour, or one every minute and a half.
Wow.
So she was obviously channeling and tapping into another level of consciousness.
Yep. Yep.
Mark Edmund Jones himself said that, he felt like there was this unseen energy at work in the creation of the Sabian symbols by a member of what he calls the ancient Mesopotamian Sabian Brotherhood. Okay. So what he believed was that brother, quote, that was the name of the guide, was the voice that Elsie Wheeler heard when she channeled the symbols.
Okay.
I couldn't find anything on Elsie saying anything about that. But that's what Mark Edmund Jones believes. So fascinating, but no proof, Mark.
Interesting, though, that they called him brother.
Yeah, his name was Brother. I mean, he was a member of the ancient Mesopotamian Sabian Brotherhood. At the end of the day, when the entire oracle had been completed, Mark sensed something was wrong with one of the symbols, and he asked Elsie to do that one again. He felt this so strongly that it occurred to him that he was being guided by something. So he asked Elsie if brother was there. Upon hearing that he was, she said, "Yep." Mark asked her, "Well, what's he doing?" And Elsie said, "He's standing with his arms folded." And Mark goes, "Ask him why he didn't correct that then." And Elsie said, he says that it's up to you, up to Mark. So it appears that on all levels, a higher kind of consciousness or intelligence was operating. She was channeling,
Right.
um, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they'd achieved on that day became clearer and clearer to Mark Edmund Jones over the following years. He called the exercise an experiment, but exactly what they had discovered is still sort of coming out today through those who use the Sabian symbols. And again, if you go on that website, um, um, that Linda Hill operates, sabiansymbols.com,
Uh-huh.
she has some really good insights, and she has a cool blog, and there's just it's a cool site to go and get lost in. Okay, now I want to talk about why the name Sabian. What does that mean?
Yes.
So the story is embedded in the ancient cultures of the Middle East.
Okay.
There was this tribe of people called the Sabians, and they are referenced in the Quran. Not much of what they were or did is recorded, but they do predate organized religion. The Sabians were thought to have been pagan worshippers of the spirit within nature. So, your original, actual pagan religion that was, you know, sort of experienced prior to organized religion.
Yeah.
The Sabian people were an ancient race of alchemists living in Haran, a city on the banks of the Euphrates River in Mesopotamia.
Euphrates.
This is where astrology is said to have originated, actually.
Yeah.
Haran, I think, yeah, Haran. Haran existed from the 3rd millennium BC to the 13th century AD and was the repository of the philosophy of the ancient Chaldeans, who were among the founders of astrology. So that's how that ties together.
Okay.
The Sabians were alchemists who were into like talismanic magic, and it's described as the magic whereby a deity's power is concentrated into a physical object to magnify the powers of above. So basically, when I create a pendant for somebody, I'm
Yes.
actually imbuing it with talismanic magic, right? This
Ah.
is a representation of their soul, and
Yes.
this is why, or their ring or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So in early Babylonia, the moon cult was the national religion. Right? I love that.
Yeah.
The name Chaldean means moon worshippers.
Okay. Okay.
So as the religion was gradually wiped out, oh, don't get me started. Fucking wiped out, like
Hmm.
all ugh, the
Like all
Sabian
pagan
people,
things, yeah, like
like all pagan things,
that were
yes.
just washed over, uh, adopted, misappropriated, etc.,
Colonized,
etc., etc. Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah.
So as the religion was gradually wiped out, the Sabian people maintained and developed the tradition of Chaldean astrology. And they specifically worked with talismans, oracles, and magic. Now, the sect itself disappeared during the Mongol invasions of the 13th century when the water supply was diverted into a neighboring town.
Huh.
But I'm going to be honest, when I was like going over that, and even right now, my guides are sort of stepping in, my legs are tingling, and they're saying that it wasn't necessarily, um, it didn't disappear. It was integrated into other cultures and religions, but the
Sure.
magic itself went underground.
Sure. Yeah. Because also think of that logically. Like if your water starts to be diverted and you start to lose a natural resource like that, people don't just sit around
Right.
and and
Like, oh,
like
well,
die.
bye,
Like
water.
you move,
Hmm.
and so it seems to me like it'd be more likely that those people would have dispersed, and it would have eventually like tore apart the community, but that a lot of people would have just moved away, separated, and yeah, and that's how their ideas get spread and integrated into
Yeah.
other things.
They were like diluted and then influenced and then all
Yep.
that shit, right? The loss
Yep.
of culture, loss of, all of that stuff. So it's
Yeah.
kind of sad because honestly, moon worshippers, I do not myself agree or believe in organized religion, but I'll tell you what, I'll worship a moon.
It isn't it funny how we moved away from something that, like, because I feel like the atheist argument sometimes and the agnostic argument is like, how can you worship something you can't see? How do you believe in something that you've never seen, that you can't prove is real. But it's like, but the moon and the sun, like you see them, they're there. Like, and yeah, we worship their cycles or whatever, and they're obvious cycles, and they're there. And it's just funny to me that it's like that we would trade it for something invisible.
Yeah, and it's of course it just supports, their own beliefs,
Of course.
they being, I'm just going to say religion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Um Beautiful, lovely Miss Elsie Wheeler. She lived in San Diego from 1923 through 1938 when she died at the age of 51 on November 26th.
She died young.
Else, I know, very young. She simply just couldn't stand the pain of her debilitating disease, and so she
Oh,
was finally like, "All right, bitches, I'm out. I'm done."
yes. Nah.
And her death cast a very dark sadness over the many, many people who knew and loved her. Um, they say that the beauty and grace with which she lived her life is enhanced by the gift that she has left to the world. And I felt that. I
That's
felt that.
beautiful.
At the time of her death, her sun was at 2 degrees Scorpio, and her Sabian symbol was a broken bottle and spilled perfume.
Oh, huh. That's
I know,
beautiful.
isn't that beautiful? All right, now let's get into Frank a little bit quickly. Although Frank was described as her uncle, no family connection can be found to prove that, and many now believe that they were listed as niece and uncle to make their relationship respectable for the times. Frank Baxter
Yeah.
died in 1948, 10 years after she did, after being hit by a bus on the streets of San Diego.
Oh shit.
I know, it's like the bus fucking hit him. So there really is no proof, that they were hitting it, but it may very well just have been for, the sake of appearances that
Hmm.
they listed as uncle and niece. But maybe Elsie was getting some. I like to
Maybe.
think she was getting some from Frank. Um. Anyway, R.I.P. Frank after being hit by a bus. That's a pretty nasty way to go. Mark Edmund Jones, on the other hand, he died on March 5th, 1980. So he lived to the ripe old age of 91. He died in Stanwood, Washington, north of me.
Mhm.
And that's really all, that we have on Mark and his death. I don't know how he died or anything.
Yeah.
All right. So to wrap this up, basically, how do you use the Sabian Oracle?
Uh-huh.
Again, Linda Hill, SabianSymbols.com. Find the symbol associated with your chart. You're going to begin with your sun and then work through the planets in your chart. So if you know astrology, this is going to be really easy, fun
Yeah.
little rabbit hole to go down. And like I said, you'll be surprised at how literal they can be when you cross reference your life situations with your symbols. And that's what I
Yeah.
did. And I was like, shut up. That's
That's
amazing.
cool. Yeah. So I just pulled one up just to see how it works. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is go pull your birth chart
Yes.
from somewhere else. So like I use Cafe Astrology. I like their
Yes.
their
They're good.
birth. Yeah, it's a easy calculator.
Easy
You
to
do need
read.
to know your birth time though in order to know the degrees. And then you just go on the website on the sabiansymbols.com and you click on symbols, and then you just pick the zodiac sign. So if you want to start with your sun sign, so select whatever sign your sun was in. So like my example is Libra and mine was in 11 at 11 degrees. So then you select the degree of the zodiac and then it'll give you
I'll give you
uh
your Sabian symbol.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go through that.
Yeah. And to work with them as an oracle, it's important to keep in mind that looking at the answer literally, you might, if you look at it literally, you might miss the possibilities that are inherent in that answer.
Uh
Um, and so, just use it to expand your intuition, and use it to look at your life situations with an increased sort of depth of view, I guess,
yeah.
perspective, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, in closing, although the Sabian symbols have their foundations in astrology, you legit need no knowledge of astrology in order to use them, right? You
Right.
just need to
Yeah.
know
Just pull your
when.
chart. Mm-hmm.
Yep, pull
Yep.
your chart, and you just need to know when your little degrees are.
Yes.
So, they're fun. So, you guys, if anybody has any um, experience in them or anything like that, please comment on, when we post the episode send us an email even. It doesn't matter, but we'd love to hear
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah, or pull up your chart, and I want to see how did you find it accurate? Did you find like it didn't make
Yeah.
sense? Or yeah, I'm interested in knowing what people's experiences are. If it's something that seems interesting to you, kind of off topic but slightly related, just about the whole thing about him getting hit by a bus. Um,
Yeah.
have you ever heard of that people who go out who die like a tragic death? What may be considered like a painful death, that they're clearing karma on their way out. Have you ever heard
Hmm.
of that?
Crazy you say that. I just had a reading yesterday with a client, and her dog
Uh-huh.
was sick. And this was her soulmate. This dog was like her kid, her life, right?
Oh.
Her puppy was sick. So the puppy laid down.
Uh-huh.
And this was out in the living room. And she's like, honey, I can't stay out here, but she didn't want to move it.
Yes.
So she's like, I'm going to go to bed. And she made it comfortable and, loved it and everything, and went to bed and woke up and the puppy had passed.
Oh.
So it was very traumatic for her. And she's
Yeah.
like, can we get into that? And so I'm
Yes.
like, absolutely. But I always cry when dogs come through, or
Of course.
animals, but
Yeah.
mostly dogs. And the dog, actually, it was a Great Dane, so a big dog, and they don't typically live long. This
Mm-hmm.
one was 13 years old, so it lived a beautifully long life. And the puppy said, or the dog said, there is a reason. Now, the dog is trying not to be cruel, because sometimes the blatancy of our soul contracts or our soul blueprints can be cruel. It can seem cruel, right? It's just very
Yeah.
blunt. So basically, the dog said that in order to balance past life karma that my client had accrued, the inability to say goodbye was necessary to balance karma. It wasn't meant to be cruel. It wasn't meant to, as a punishment. Karma is not punitive. It is experiential. It was simply to balance karma. Why? Because in a past life, this person was a slave trader, and they would rip families apart and not give
Uh-huh.
them the opportunity to say goodbye. So again,
Oh.
yes, how we experience karma is very specific. So it balanced karma.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And that was when you said that, I was like, that was the first thought that came to me. I was like, just thinking about that, and how it clears karma when you go
Yep.
out.
Clears it right up. Balances it anyway, right? Because it's just, you've had one experience and now you've had another, end of story. And it's actually, it was a really beautiful way for her to balance that karma, although it hurt. Like, she really felt it. But
Yeah.
we talked it through. I brought forth some more messages, and so now she feels bad and she has that closure, hopefully.
Yeah.
Or now she feels better and has closure, not feel bad.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that's a good, cool story. All right, everyone. You can find us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast. You can catch us on Facebook under the Esoterics Community Group. And make sure you favorite our group so that you can see all of our posts. This is a safe place to ask questions on all things spiritual or not so spiritual. And like I said before, it's a good place to start sharing if you have a message that maybe popped up into your knowing and you'd like to share it with the world.
Absolutely. And again, you'll also find support and information on developing your practices on Tools for the Modern Mystic page, but I will always post them in the esoterics community on Facebook every single time and link them.
Thank you for inviting us into your life today. Stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do.
Tell them to fuck off.
Bye-bye. Bye.